Welcome to our future humans, to a late IHP show with your 5D mystic stories. And we're gonna continue a little bit on our love front. So, being yourself, not a broken heart that is afraid of making mistakes. No, actually, we know about authentic people and authentic mystics and the genuine ones who don't need these little pats on the back and proving. And so, any adaptive child part person will be clear to the 5D collective, as we do know to forgive, and we know how your life is your making. God does not interfere with it. Thank you, Sadhguru. And a couple more of his quotes for today. They were really good and on point with what we're going to continue chit-chatting about. Our presence here is just for a short period of time. We do not have to shorten it by fighting each other, that's for sure. There is nothing else to do here except live. The only choice you have is to live either superficially or profoundly. So people who are not using prefrontal live superficially. Those of us who know how to forgive from our hearts, that means that thread to your vessel, you know it, your heart, and it is a heart that is open. This is from me to you, to the truth of you as part of all that is, and that gets to share life with the whole self in relationships with true love. So true love is easy, and you can't make mistakes to where you lose people. That's what luminous warriors know. So self-agents, we have our child parts. We are prophets, spiritual gurus, masters, enlightened ones. We're angels. Every person's an angel, but some we're earth angels, galactic angels, interbeing mixed angels, body connected here, and you are also your own lover. So you love yourself first. You're an expert yogi because you are an expert with darkness. We're expanding our 8th, 9th chakra. So Resh. Okay, so the people who are of our 5D collective here at IHP, the mystics, spiritual, they all know what it means to love, and we see source in everyone. And so we know that there's no low frequency that needs to stick around in the low frequency because that's not their highest potential. But if they don't want to match Dharma, the 5D Earth's frequency, they're going to go somewhere else. It doesn't affect those of us who are aware of love. Okay, so God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, communion, that's my primary foundation. And again, your life is your making. God does not interfere with it. And luckily, Enoch, who I know closely, asked, please don't flood the earth again, and I'm thinking there's Atlantis in the middle of this. Lemurians, Pleiadians, there's again a deep, deep, deep relationship that those of us who begin life with pure consciousness and pure energy. So love is really easy. When you meet Shiva and Shakti, or Purusha Prakriti, so when you meet your own complete embodiment, and then when you also know your oversoul, it's not confusing for those of us who know that karma is about shifting responsibility from heaven to yourself. This is how you become the very maker of your own destiny. Thank you again, Sadhguru. And that you are consistently, as the smart scientists have presented, working through that which is dissolving your karma. So your body moves more and more towards its health because it's a biology. So from chaos or rigidity, when you own your personality patterns, that's why being yourself and your love. And that's why it's the one and only emotion that, no, it's the oxytocin gene hormone, but it is the consistent emotion that you feel. Only those who have lost the need for security are truly secure when you have secure attachment. Okay, and so you're non-traumatized because emotions come up, and that is when you're able to sit in silence as emotions come up and to contemplate. And for me, I have conversations with God, the angels, archangels, ascended masters, all of it. For those who are not aware of what love is, I don't know who they talk to, but I'm pretty sure they have nasty thoughts, nasty feelings, and they say, I want to be aware that it's not about what feels right, what is right. Or they call out Lucifer monsters and continue to be demonize human beings when decentralizing in the self shows really clearly what religion has to do with it, the fear receptor, the brain. Patrick McNamara. So neuroscientists prove why we have a brain, and neurobiologists. The 4D, 3D continue to want to simply believe the old paradigm is done and use stories. I use different types of stories. The pseudoscience woo lady uses Pinocchio, Peter Pan. So when you meet a 4D, 3D, They let you know why they're going to stay functioning alcoholics, and so unhealthy self-soothing, functioning drug addicts, therefore unhealthy self-soothing, functioning binge eating, functioning everything. And then they grow up to be 90-year-old or something, and I see a 92-year-old man on a 1-minute short telling me how he keeps healthy, which is just moderation, everything, and doing activities while his 92-year-old people where he lives just sit down all day long. And I mean, I sit a lot for work too, don't get me wrong, but I'm implementing a nutritionist diet. You're going to hear all about that. I'm implementing exercises. You hear about that, so my 24 hours, I'm using them. I wouldn't want to waste any of my 24 hours just sitting around doing nothing, because I already sit enough personally. But you see what I'm saying? So when you know who you are, I was a teenager, you say, hey, teenage boyfriend, so I know who I am, you know who you are, great. We've been friends for 2 years now, and so are we cool? Cool. So we got to be, the first love is not the most important one, by the way. Love is all the same for securely attached, non-traumatized people. Not because you're polyamory, even though when you move into your polyfidelity vessels and people want to participate to a vessel they have nothing to do with, it's just like, okay, look, I won't abandon you. You're afraid of abandonment, 0-1-year-old, but you're not in my polyfidelity vessel. You will not be abandoned. You need to reframe and recalibrate yourself. These are people, and in this particular case, a human being who doesn't know how to use their brain, because again, when you are incapacitated to emotionally mature, there's a reason. You can be helped, but if you don't want it, dark sides of neuroplasticity make a person into that which is an automaton, whatever the word is. So love is not about somebody. Love is not an act. Love is what you are. And once you are in a herd, it's like Manny Diego said, you don't kick somebody out of the herd just because they have a little bit of annoying behavior. I have plenty of annoying behaviors. So you leave it alone. And then you also remember that health is not the diet, it's first your body connected, and then also diet and habits. And that's why, as Dean Martell points out, your future self begins now, not tomorrow. So every single day you are contributing 24 hours to what tomorrow is going to be. And that's why we take it seriously, because good intentions, they're not enough. It takes the right action performed with the right consciousness to produce the necessary results, said Guru. And Gu, darkness, Ru, dispeller. So when you're dispelling darkness, this is also why you know how the word of wisdom diffuses conflict and provides clarity. Neuroscientists, neurobiologists explain your most powerful manifestation technique, going with the flow. To get there, it's not only about the external, it's about your child parts. Without your essential spark, which is your child parts, you won't be using your ventral vagal state the same. And I'm laughing because there's plenty of performers. While I will use my highly performing embodiment with eustress, the high performers are doing this. So a high performer like this doesn't actually realize that, unfortunately, as our lovely Patrick Tian points out, when a child is not the center of someone's world in a good enough way, they will try to find a home with anyone who will take them. And so he says, as we grow to develop a better radar system for the first time, and you're more protective of yourself, that's important to remember how you got there. So your family system of origin didn't set you up to basically know how to be careful, to love yourself first, be yourself, and then remember what it means when you meet a manipulative asshole, which is nothing. If you can't say something nice, say nothing. And that people irritate you simply because they're not the way you expect them to be. And that means essentially they're not like you, and you remember that you're not the only 3-year-old in town. I'm bringing in Maria's stuff. Okay, so while lovely Patrick Tiahan, he shares with us how before he started recovery, he was free-floating through life and just happy to have anyone interested in him. When you have yourself and you love yourself first, you know you can't make mistakes in a way of losing someone. You don't change who you are. Okay, but you also don't bullshit your way through relationships. And so that's why we'll be talking some more about it. But love, it is being yourself, and it is not where you are brokenhearted and afraid to make mistakes the way those who need good therapy are. The ones who are watching their fucking back, these are not authentic people because they're yet to own their first 3 years of life. Their unhealthy self-soothing mechanisms are clear. not only through their content, but also through their day-to-day life. And it's any extreme. So moderation is always key. Also, what you'll notice is that when your child parts stay alive, you don't lose yourself or your humanity. So you do understand that there's sciences out there. That's why science and spirituality, they unlock the truth to you. It's you be you. Anyone who thinks it's bad advice is coming at it from the angle of you have to have had a rupture with yourself. Some people don't. We're self-led. We don't lose ourselves, and we choose integrity, morality, and we get lucky, like I do with good Christian Catholic catechists. And by being a self-agent and getting taught what a manipulative grown-up looks like, I don't do shit with a manipulative grown-up because my mother taught me what to do, not to be rude to them, and then God taught me how not to play know-it-all. And then I got to become a mystic, and I know my oversoul, and I know when we're learning new stuff. So we always are learning something. Every 12 months has a cycle for your soul when you're expanding. Spiritual and personal growth, that's what I get to do. So when you're expanding, because you know your child parts, you know that you're always sent where you're meant to be. God doesn't ever actually do anything in a way that is supposed to test you. Now, you're choosing if you're going to expand. So once you are building Dharma, because you're doing karma, the good kind, you also know that you're always choice points. And you know that a truly intelligent mind is neither influenced by memory nor deluded by imagination. That human beings who suffer their own memory and imagination, it is because, Sadhguru, it's something that exists. They could get help, but they don't want it. And so you have the choice point, which is why when someone's still using stories, Lucifer monsters, it's not nice, because you either have people who are emotionally mature and so they're mentally and emotionally intelligent, or we have emotionally immature, and then you got a 0 to 8-year-old who's afraid that if they make one mistake they're going to lose you. So you learn how to handle emotionally immature people. They might become donkeys, yes. Now if they become donkeys to the point of where it's just Michael Yapko makes a point. I mean, really, to be that toxic, you have to be, like, I don't know. But then again, it depends. If you're an empowered person, you really don't find it that you're going to be in relationships with people that are like that. Do you know why? Healthy, self-worth people. I'm an empowered woman. Teenage Maria. Let me share with you some stories before I even became a mystic. I'm flirting with this guy. I really liked him, and he's one of the superficial ones. But I'm a teenager, so I'm completely ignorant of superficial, right? And I'm also insecure and doing all the same things all the other kids are doing. And so he would say that because he was tall and I'm short, that we wouldn't be able to be an item. And I remember walking in with my nice high heels. I had new platforms or whatever they were called. And as soon as I walk in, I'm all excited. And he looks at me and says, "Don't think we can be together with those high heels. You're still short." And I immediately have a download. So I didn't realize I was already downloading. So when you have your higher self, because you're self-led, so that's your child parts are all there. You're cool with your anger, sadness, fear, surprise, happiness, disgust, your emotional body, okay, mental, emotional, physical body. I'm an Akashic record reader, so I'm still mastering the physical is for the rest of your life, by the way. It's really fun. So in the meantime, though, my download was, this is not love. But I'm having fun, so who cares? So your downloads work like that. Now, my left and right work together. My left, I call it the ego. My right is myself. And then they come, and with my integrated brain and going with the flow state, I get to deal with unknowns, uncertainties, unwanteds, unexpecteds, with communion with God. So independently from when those lovely galactic beings and ascended masters and Enoch, maybe Archangel Michael, they want to come through and share something with you. I'll have to wait, not today though, when we get our paid tiers and or our community and other circumstances. But now I'm losing my train of thought. Give me 1 minute. So when I moved into the first relationship, serious one, I still was very much like, this is who I am. I don't change. Okay, so 45. This is who I am. I don't change. And when you move into our polyamory, we've talked about that. So from solo poly to polyfidelity vessels, it is very interesting. Definitely an opportunity to be able to have 2 books. I have Poly Secure and Poly Wise. So those are supportive if any of you are, unfamiliar with terminology, unfamiliar with how to talk about it. And also, it's very important to note that it shares with you our primal attachment panic. So that would be where a person, when you have a polyamory relationship, your nervous system gets afraid of losing your primary attachment figure, because even if there's the polyamory community, still will want one, at least one. We're all mammals. So in my case, I'm going to say with my twin, my implicit memory knows no aloneness. So I've always shared my primary caregiver. So it's not been a big deal. When I got from twin flame 1 to 2 to 3, I'm like, okay, it's a crowd. And that's because those relationships, for those of us who know our oversoul, they're quite important. And while people will talk to you about soul contracts and having them end and begin, the people who remain grounded in reality, you don't objectify and dehumanize people you meet. You know, you don't give them some story. Of course, I understand when they're talking about soul contracts, but you're building a relationship. It's not just a soul contract. So even if you grow apart, you're not cutting people out of your herd. I mean, the reality is we don't always maintain all of our relationships just because interests, they get different. That's really doesn't mean that you're ending relationships. So that's where it's perspective as well. But I will say all my oversoul expands, but yeah, I don't talk to every single person. You don't have the time. You don't have the material time. But here's where, when I think of people who want to make that type of an equation, I'm thinking, how old are you? You a teenager? Because didn't you realize that in 24 hours between work, your home, and you're going to have, like, that is what your day is going to be like. So you're not going to physically be able to, but for you to decide for other people, what is a close bond or a not bond, who are you? So that's the part of where, with our polyamory community, those who don't understand that there's gray sexuals, asexuals, there's people who have platonic relationships, there's people, they're the ones who are not looking into it. 1, they're not curious, and 3, they don't understand that love is not something based on a number. It's something you feel because that's what you are. So when you are genuine and authentic, you're not building relationships based on words. It's, hi, this is my name. Wow. And so you begin to build a bond. So just because you are different than I, and we have completely different political views, religious, whatever, then I won't be your friend anymore, or I won't be in a relationship. That doesn't sound right to a person who has wholeness. And that's because all my child parts are like, why would I not want to be friends with someone who's different? I can still talk to you. Now, if you are to the point of becoming physically threatening, then no, I can't, because I'm 4'9". But if you are emotionally and mentally a human being, whether you have biological rudeness or not, I mean, characterological distinctions don't make an empowered person think, oh my God, I need to go change right now because that envious, jealous, insecure human being just told me that they think I'm a whore or a masochist because they don't believe polyamory is a good thing. Oh my God, I must go check my morality box because I must be such a lost soul. So empowered people, they don't think of people's words as something significant, because do you know how many morons I've met that use words that have nothing to do with their life? They're a fool with a tool that's a fool. They don't know anything about their embodied brain, and I get to meet the ignorant ones who actually still navigate the scarlet letter times. I was a teenager when I met fools. You know what I do with fools? So, excuse me. I mean, I don't want to mind your business because I'm totally here because of my friends. Did you just say that you ask each other for permission to go on vacation? Did you just say that you stay home but he can go out because he's a boy, a man, excuse me, and you're a woman? And so, come again, do you ask your parents if you can go on vacation? Because I'm not really clear on this. I mean, I know I would want to make sure you're okay. Like, can you tell me where you're at so that we can check in? Because I get worried. But permission, did you say permission? Did you just say you check each other's emails and tell each other what to say? It's not like supportive where you support each other and basically just, support each other. So this was a very interesting, many different evenings with people who are fascinating, to say the least. And essentially, when you move into having an oversoul, and more than just the oversoul. You don't actually, let me think, fear of making mistakes, there are none, because you're not afraid of losing each other, because again, we're all flawed and perfect, whether mystic, spiritual, mindful. There's not anything that would make you not have the capacity to talk about things. So for personally, my subjective experience since as a kid growing up, none of that changed. I just grew more capable of speaking my thoughts, my feelings, like a functional child, adult. And when I see these types of couples, and I'm 45 now, I just think, okay, I mean, we're still talking about people who don't understand, one, the option and opportunity for that which is polyamory, because it gets judged with the word morality versus it's called faithful or consensual, whatever the word is, non-monogamy. I always forget those words, but faithfulness is something to me that means authenticity, transparency, not the monoamory, monogamy. Socially speaking, we all know the history of our species, and furthermore, there's that one secure attachment, but this is the beauty of being yourself, and knowing that being yourself means I love. It's I will make mistakes, you will make mistakes. That doesn't have the capacity to make me be afraid of losing you. But obviously, again, death departs, sickness and health, for better, for worse, for worse. This is something that doesn't even mean anything if you don't know how to take care of yourself, which involves mental, emotional, and physical health. If you don't know how to take priority and care, how are you going to make some kind of commitment and promise? So it's common sense in my subjective experience, but then I got all attachment trauma educated, and so it's not common sense to everyone, which is why, as Patrick Tiahan points out, when someone's been given the self-righteous contempt baton, it's not until you heal all that where you stop projecting your childhood trauma upon another person, like even a Terry will talk to you about. You will learn to be the version of you that is your true version, not a fake version, or basically that which protected yourself, and that is unhealthily self-soothing, unhealthily doing a lot of things, and projecting unnecessary immaturity, because it's not a good behavior anymore. That's why it's not made up. But again, plenty of people who support what I told you about those couples versus being able to have a conversation. In fact, they will be reactive to when you present to them an opportunity due to the fact that they're talking to you about potential cheating. And so the infidelity thing, or the I don't cheat, and it's like, okay, what year do you come from? Where do you live? Is it under a rock? So the part about people who want pats on the back, if you want society to keep on giving you thumbs up, thumbs down, is this really love we're talking about? Or are we talking about societal norms? Which is why we're having societal shifts, and that we're able to more readily talk about aspects, and then because of emotional, mental, mature people, we're able to say, okay, really, horror, masochist, ha ha ha, really, I'm not offended, I'm just laughing about it. Like I will have been like, what? You give each other numbers and then you say you're not pilly enough. That's not amore, that's not love. Did you just say to someone that they're not like you? What kind of a love is that? Are you looking for an exact replica of yourself? Is that what, I didn't realize you thought love was, I'm going to have an exact like me. 3-year-old, there's bountiful of different people. So that's why words don't mean much to a person who knows what it means to see. How are you going to walk a walk and talk a talk? I'll know if you love life, and if you love when you show me that you can love yourself first, and you can love everything around you, and you can treat it with the very utmost respect. And obviously that doesn't mean everybody's going to think you're respecting I eat meat. People like, oh, if you meat, you don't love animals. Yes, I do. Of course I want them to be treated better, but I might not go to the same extremes you'll go through and go to. And if you think that makes me a bad person, that's your subjective opinion. And if you're a grown-up about it, you'll know it. If you have a charge, then you're going to think you're right. And I really don't want to hang out with ignorant, mediocre people who think they're right, because that's an adaptive child part just waiting to tell me why I'm wrong. That's not an interesting conversation. It's not because they'll make a mistake or I'll make a mistake. It's not interesting because you don't care to get to know me. You just care to tell me why you're right, which means that you're not in the relationship for the reason of love. You're in it because you want pats on the back, which I won't give you any of because I ain't doing this. So when you meet unhealthy, self-soothing people who are insecure. They're envious, jealous, spiteful. They're low self-esteem because they don't know how to take ownership of their child parts, let alone ownership of different opinions. They just like to use fancy words and use, morality, integrity, not morality. And you just think, keep coming, fool, with your words. Sure, what are you going to throw at me next? You think you've hit something? I don't notice. And the part that actually, as a kid, teenager, I didn't know how to be able to have conversations with those lovely data points because I don't do regurgitation. But I found out, thanks to a teenage boyfriend, that I would not be arguing with anyone about any of that, which is my mystic spiritual journey, because that's not only, it's not about it being offensive, it's that I have a communion, a sacred journey, and it's personal. And while I'm not accepted by all the people that want to be divisive with spirituality, I can respect and understand that because they have leaders who tell them that bad juju will be left in. So when you have children who have leaders who divide us versus the ones who bring us together, but the other ones decided they don't want to, you can't do anything because the children are following the leader. So they're not following God or source or Akash or love. They're following words. And then they're saying my words are more better than your words, and you think, sure they are. And do you know that by the 2 years of age your words start? So you're not really in communion with that, which is if you want to talk to us about source, it's a frequency. Now if you go to science, they'll talk to you about consciousness from that mathematical equation, but it's still a love frequency, which is why being yourself is the best advice someone can give you. But it's from a body that is yours, which means it navigates from a mammalian heritage unless you think you're not capable of it, which doesn't make sense because so far what I've gathered is we have 3 nervous system responses, and then we also have other 3 besides the ventral vagal, sympathetic, dorsal vagal. So the parasympathetic is what the ventral vagal and the dorsal vagal are, if I remember correctly. Then we have please, appease, attach, cry, collapse, submit. Those are 3 other defense mechanisms. And the please, appease, submit, one of them is a mixture of the 2. So, at the end of the day, though, I don't want to bore you with that. My point was that you're not afraid of making a mistake when you're in love, because you're not in love with people. You're in love here, and then you say, this is who I am. And so you don't really treat each other like children and parents. And those who follow a leader, they're not thinking on their own 2 feet, and they will use the books and all of them, and they'll just say these are the true ones, and you'll say sure they are, and you leave it at that, because intellectually intelligent people know exactly what to do with those who lack emotional intelligence. You let them talk. So the 3-year-old got it off the chest, the 16-year-old thinks they're right. The minute they can leave, even if they're upset because they noticed you didn't take their side, they'll just gossip about you behind your back, and there goes the cowards. Unimpressive. So they don't lose anything. You don't lose anything. You just had a very uninteresting. No, it's always interesting because I get to find out about one of my brothers and sisters and what they think. It's always interesting to me. I'll make it interesting. God gave me a gift. I'm a goody two-shoe, don't you know? He told me not to judge my brothers and sisters of human suffering, a waste of my fucking time, which is why Buddha and I have a thing, because I say, you sat under a tree, Buddha. What am I going to do? And then I said, we got a future Buddha coming in. Don't worry, Buddha. He's going to help, or she or they, to enlighten people with Buddhism again. Because, they're going to stop talking about this life, this very existence is suffering. They're going to say, hey, guess what? You get to get your ventral vagal toning, and you get to own your child parts, and you get to truly love, and you get to learn detachment. The real way. It's not boring. So enlightenment, so age group, it's really fun to move into that, into the unknown. So Dharma, that's what we get to do. We're on our next wheelhouse, and love is being yourself, and no broken hearts. Nobody gets left behind. We always support all of our brothers and sisters to get up. The ones who want to stay on the floor, we go, come on, you can get up. Come on, choo-choo train. If they really don't want to move over the hump, then they're going to be left behind, but it's not a good or bad thing. They got plenty of choo-choo trains that don't want to make it, like my friends on Pinocchio's island. They decided they're going to stay on the island. Peter Pan's on the other island. Plenty of people on different islands, and your child parts will say, okay, well, we get to have fun with the alive ones. We all can be smart and stupid, but you don't lose yourself or your humanity. So we'll be moving more and more towards our lovely new sweet spot. In the meantime, thanks for stopping by. Have a good one.